Oh my gosh, that's so frustrating. Why would someone do that? Why would someone do that? Why would they make you start a live stream unmuted? This is disgusting. People at Telegram, what are you doing? Why do you not let OBS work? Yet this is working wonderfully. Look at the audio and video quality. Well, anyways, guys, I'm slightly disgusted with myself, but that's okay. We're going to go on from here. We've got the chat open, and I guess in the future, unfortunately, although I'd really strongly prefer to use OBS because it's so much more logical from the standpoint of someone who's worked in TV for many years, this is looking pretty good, and this, I think, should be pretty simple, and we've made our mistakes. We've made our mistakes, and we're moving on. Anyways, guys, as I was saying while I was muted, this is Tim Kirby Russia, hardcore, when we talk about politics of Russia, ideology of Russia, everything of Russia, sometimes even travel, in fact, food. Because you know what, guys? After this video, I'm going to post up some of our episodes that were re-uploaded about my delicious eating and drinking habits in Dagestan, because soon we're going to have another must-eat video coming out, but the region it's in will remain a secret because it's new, and you're just going to have to wait for that. But pretty soon I'll throw up the Dagestan videos for you guys, but after the chat, if I don't forget. But I don't think I'm going to. Anyways, today, friends, we have a weird format. This is either going to be extremely interesting for you, or this is going to completely crash and burn, okay? Because we have the Tim Kirby Russia experience is a weird one. We go from absolute brutal ideology to me just talking about food in Dagestan, okay? Our vision of Russia here is a very broad vision. Let me adjust here, so I'm actually looking at you and not at the monitor number 2, because monitor number 1 is where the camera is. Get smaller. Oh, yeah, there we go. All right, so anyways, what we're going to do today, guys, give me a chance to explain it, especially for those of you who have, English isn't your native language. In fact, I'm going to move the chat over here to the second window. Oh, lots of smileys. Oh, the cup guy. Yay, someone sent me the cup guy. I love the cup guy. He's like my favorite smiley. Anyways, so let's explain for those of you who, English isn't your native language, and maybe even for those of you who it is, because recently, I really have gotten sick of doing interviews for Russian TV. They're kind of pointless, and a lot of times the questions aggravate me. Sometimes it can be kind of fun. Like there's this guy, and his name is like, telephone, what are you doing? What? Oh, my God. Telephone's melting. Anyways, this guy called Ruben, and he talks about politics, and I love doing his interviews only with him sometimes because it's always a train wreck. Like every question is a train wreck question. It would be something like, what if I was to go to talk to someone, I don't know, about financing, and I'm just like, is it the Rothschilds or is it the Windsors that dominate your bank? Like just hurling conspiracy theories at me. It's amazing. One day I hoped we could maybe do an interview with Ruben in English, because he sometimes tries to speak English. That would be amazing. But unfortunately, that will remain a secret. Now, what's not a secret is I just did an interview for one of the major TV channels in Russia. And I have all the questions in front of you, in front of me. I'll have to read them to you. They're in front of me. Mwah. And we're going to go through these questions, and not only am I going to tell you what I answered to them, the truth, not filtering things. I'm not playing to the audience. I'm going to talk how I talk to the Russian world, okay? So first off, I'm revealing one truth. But secondly, I'm going to take a look at these questions. And one thing I want you to always keep in mind when we're talking about the Russian media is who's asking. Because I was just talking to our dear friend Joaquin today, again for about the millionth time. He's probably sick of hearing my talking points. About how it's really important who makes the news. Because who in America and England goes and gets a really expensive journalism degree, especially from like the Ivy League, and then goes on to write for like the New York Times or something like that, or Wall Street Journal? Who is it? Oh, it's a limp-wristed liberal. Yes, exactly. It's that kind of person. So when we talk about the Russian media, very often, who is the standard Russian journalist? They are woman aged 20 to 35, no husband, no kids, okay? And the questions in this interview came from the same standpoint. Not to say it's good or bad, but that's the standpoint, okay? And you're going to see that when we get into the questions, we're getting into a lot of emotionalism, as it's called, which is not really the best way of handling politics. But anyways, If you guys hopefully understood that, and I don't see people leaving, so I guess you did. So anyways, let's talk here about all these questions, and we'll get into it. Question number 1. Why does the United States provide the most serious financial and military assistance to Ukraine? What will be the demand for this help later? And at whose expense are the weapons being supplied now? This is all Yandex Translate. I'll put it in the chat, so for you who are seeing it, you can actually then read it, which will probably be easier. Now, this is one of those kind of questions where it's like, okay, so we don't really know why we're at war, all right, but so why does the United States provide the most serious financial and military assistance to Ukraine? My answer to them was because the actual war that's being fought, that sort of manifested itself in Ukraine, is really the war between whether there's going to be a monopolar world order of international relations, or whether there's going to be the multipolar world order of national relations. Remember, back in 2007, in the Munich speech, Putin said, even in 2007, if war would start in 2007 in Ukraine, Russia would have been in a lot of trouble. I'll put it that way, especially economically. But it was actually Putin who sort of declared war. He was like, look, Russia's not going to go quietly out into the night. There are different actors on this planet, and they want to all have voices, and that's the way it's going to be, and we're going to fight you to the bitter end. Okay, so that's what he said in 2007. Go back and look at the video. November 2007, Munich speech, Putin. You'll find it. So really, the real cause of this is the monopolar versus multipolar world order. So that was question number 1, kind of a straightforward one. But the thing is, I really doubt that anyone else that she interviewed gave that answer. I'll put it that way. That's one other problem, too, is it was within Russia. Obviously, Putin talked about denazification, demilitarization of Ukraine, but the whole greater thing about this multipolar world order, it's kind of mentioned, but it's not the kind of thing that a random person on the street would actually answer as to being the background for everything that's been happening in Russia since 2007, okay? So hopefully that was a brilliant revelation from a person with a horrible accent. Anyways, question number 2. It's no secret that Russian oligarchs are buying up expensive real estate in the UK and have long filled the British elite's teeth. I'm not quite sure what she means by that. The arrest of private property of Russian citizens now. Can it be considered a pre-imposed revenge? Why do Russians make the British so angry? That's the thing. This is it. This question, which is unfortunately question number 2, was a very typical question in Russia. Why? It's like for any of you who watch red pill content about manhood and masculinity, when men are in arguments, the women will also say, to get at you, they'll say, "Who hurt you? Why do you think that? Who hurt you?" This is like the "who hurt you" kind of thinking. It's like, well, Britain must be just angry at Russia. It's not about resources, historical inertia, geopolitics, economics, perhaps perception. It's about emotion. So apparently the British are hurt. That's why they're acting. Why? Because we reflect, all of us, me too. I am not a magic robot. I am not God. I'm not an angel. We all sort of throw ourselves into these questions. And I think this reporter really put herself into this of this, adding this betrayal element and emotion into the question, which doesn't really need to be there. It's sort of like, at first, Russia's rich oligarchs seem to be pretty safe in England, and now it seems like they're not. Why? There is an answer from a man named Sergei Kurganyan, and he said a while ago, I think even before the actual hot phase of the war started, he basically said that in the 30s and early 1940s, in Germany, some of the Jews thought that Germany would be divided into the good Jews and the bad Jews. And he said, the problem is, when dealing with Nazi Germany, you're all Jews, okay? And what he meant by that was that there are going to be some Russians who are going to try to be the butt kissers. They're going to try to worship the West. But in the long run, everything, even remotely Russian, is under attack. And we're seeing that because even like some of the rich Russian guys there, all Russian culture, Russian paintings, even Russian cats have been banned from competing in international cat show competitions. Russian cats are off the table, okay? That's being a bit silly, but if there is a change in the nature of the oligarchs, And another thing about this, we've talked about before, and most of you guys seem to hate it. We've talked about this before, how there's self-hating Russian complex, and all the Russian celebrities, they know that deep down the real home is in the West, and that's where the real people are, and that they just have to come to this awful country to make money here so they can go back to the West where they're loved and where they're part of. Nope. You're not part of society. You are field grows. You scum, wealthy Russians. In fact, I do have a friend who's really in the know about all the Russian celebrities, not from a celebrity news standpoint, but like who left, why, where they went. I'm going to try to get an interview with him if he'll agree to it. But anyways, the reason that the British have changed their attitude towards a lot of Russian oligarchs, for that term's a little bit out of date, but the reason is because Russia itself, as an entirety, as a culture, as this geopolitical, it's total cultural war. Okay, so yeah, all right. So, anyways, that's why. So that's question number 2. All right. So here's question number 3. Also, write in the chat: is this boring? Are you guys not enjoying this? Are you enjoying this? Are we learning anything? Are we discussing anything? I'm an open-minded person. I want to give you the Tim Kirby hardcore experience that you want, except for things sexual. That will have to be reserved for a very limited number of women. Anyways, question number 3. Why do you think the UK is one of the countries that support the toughest and most crushing sanctions against Russia? This is probably what you should have asked, because again, we just talked about that. It's really been, for the past few hundred years, really it's been England and Russia that have sort of been an offset. I think it could be the simple geopolitical fact of they had the big, huge sea empire that's kind of to the west of Europe, and Russia had the big, huge land empire to the east of Europe, and then you get into the whole great game thing around Afghanistan. Basically, it's sort of a competition, and in some ways, what we're seeing here, especially when a certain president of a certain country says, an economic zone from Lisbon to Vladivostok, well, the British don't like that idea. They don't like that map. They don't like a land empire stretching from Lisbon to Vladivostok. So in a lot of ways, it's the battle between, although certain people would say that it's a very British way to see things. Everything's a battle for the heartland, you see. Yes. But I think that there's a lot of truth to that. And in the geopolitics kind of don't lie. So nothing personal, just business. And having continental Europe stuck between Russia and Britain. So that's probably a big part of it. And also remember that a lot of the remainder of Britain's power and the West's elite, well, if they just let Russia do whatever it wants, well, they're not going to be in any elite anymore. You know what I mean? They could become like the Russian elite, the second-rate clowns who have to get on an airplane to fly to other countries to make money and then return home or return to not home in order to feel cultured, So anyways, question number, very interesting, says Tara. Guess what? Tara's the only person who voted or commented, so she wins automatically. That's how a dictatorship works, my friends. Although dictatorships are a false concept, but you get it. Oops. Number 4. Wow, that is a weird promo image that just came up. Is that John? I don't know what's going on there. But anyways, no, that's different. That's, okay. So hey, the question number 4. Sorry, I'm getting tripped over my words. Have you heard the news about the prank of the Russian pranksters Vovan and Lexus over the British Defense Minister Wallace? How could such a prank be pulled off so easily? What conclusions can be drawn from this? Now, this the woman who was doing this interview, she could not believe that these two people were able to get through this British minister. I told her, I was like, well, you have to understand that, yeah, it's difficult. I have a terrible history of cold calling. I've had to sort of sometimes produce her, and I am terrible at it. Okay. I don't have that skill set. So it is hard, but I mean, remember those Borat movies, how they were able to get all these like sort of famous people? Some of it was fake, but I don't think I think Ron Paul was on there. I don't think Ron Paul signed up for that. So, some people have some really good producing skills and a lot of confidence. But it also shows just how flawed and how human a lot of these systems could be, that these guys who don't speak English as a native language, so they have accents, the best they can do to try to hide it, they're still going to have some weirdness in the way they speak. I guess where there's a will, there's a way, but what do I think about pranks? I hate pranks. It's my least favorite form of comedy. I don't like it. I don't like being pranked. I don't pull pranks on people. So I guess in a way, it also creates a sort of false victory, which I don't like. So, for example, one thing I criticize people for is there will be someone like, remember, the Pussy Hat movement right after Trump won the election in 2016, Pussy Hat movement, right? These women put on these pink hats and went outside and screamed and did signs and something, women's rights. No, okay? Well, what did it accomplish? Nothing. But it felt like it accomplished something. It felt like I did something. It doesn't matter if it did nothing. I felt it. And I think that this is sort of a much more difficult form of accomplishing nothing, yet it's kind of like, okay, here it comes. Political masturbation. That's what we're going to call it. Political masturbation, where you feel like you've made a difference. You fought against the man. You know, like a teenager, they'll write like F the police on a wall, and they felt like they fought the man. They beat the police. No, you haven't. You've done nothing. It's all some sort of like masturbatory fantasies. So I don't particularly have any respect for pranks. And although it's kind of neat maybe that they were able to do that and impressive from a producing standpoint, but it accomplished nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because trust me, a lot of British politicians do a good job of making themselves look stupid as is. We're getting into our, what was that guy's name? Andrew Dice Clay. We're getting into our Andrew Dice Clay comedy hour. Okay, so question number 5 of the interview was, I'm sorry, I'm looking over here and over here. Dual monitor setup, baby. The UK reported that it had supplied Ukraine with almost all of its anti-tank missiles, and the other day, Wallace said that London would increase the supply of lethal weapons to Kiev. What is the true reason for pumping Ukraine with weapons? I told them, like I'm going to tell you, it's easy. In fact, I think even Putin mentioned it today, that Washington is going to fight Russia to the last Ukrainian. That expression is a cliche already, but it is a legitimate cliche, and it came from somewhere. It is just to try to make the war last as long as it can, to try to drain the Russian economy, resources, military, change public opinion within Russia, and all that stuff. That's all. The questions have kind of gotten better so far, but question number 2, oh boy, that one really irked me. Okay. Here we go. Question number 6. And again, remember, this is all Yandex translated, so that's why it might look a little weird. But anyways, question number 6. Germany acted as a guarantor, I always say that word wrong, guarantor of the Minsk agreements. At first, to be honest, it's like an 80s cartoon character. Guarantor provides. Germany acted as a guarantor of the Minsk agreements at first supplied helmets, but changed its decision and began to supply weapons. Why is it profitable for Germany to help Ukraine? This is one thing where, again, I sort of argued with the woman. I was like, Germany's a vassal. Okay, one of the things is, the problem is I was trying to be mysterious and intriguing for TV, so I said, well, isn't the question the quantity of American military bases on their territory? And the look on her face was, what? That one really kind of threw her. I guess I shouldn't be mysterious speaking as a foreign person, so I should be more blunt and direct and manly, is that, Germany is still an officially occupied country, not unofficially. Not like how you could say that all of NATO is occupied, or everywhere where there was the Marshall Plan was in a sense occupied in a way. But it's not as super direct, and there's this, like with NATO, there's this sort of, there still is the official bureaucracy that makes it look like a voluntary organization of equal partners. Voluntary. Oh, God, equal partners. Yeah, sure. But with Germany, that's not the case. With Germany, there's just straight up U.S. military bases there that have been there, since the beginning of the Cold War. So, yeah. Is someone really trying to call me right now? What are you doing? No, none of this calling me. I forbid this. I forbid your calls. Get out of here. But anyways, so that's really the answer is Germany doesn't have any political will of its own. Like, why have some countries which don't have a very large military budget, like Cyprus, like Greece, well, why have they sent weapons to Ukraine, especially when the word on the street is public opinion is a little bit certainly divided on this issue at the very least, right? Why are they doing it? Because they don't have a choice. because they kind of have to. They're stuck in NATO. They're afraid of getting regime changed or color revolution. It takes someone like Mr. Orban, who's that super freaking popular, to be able to actually say no to this sort of stuff. In Cyprus and Greece, man, the spines aren't as thick. We are not dealing with Spartans anymore, sadly. But anyways, question number 7. Remember, you guys, you're free to ask questions. The chat is so quiet. You're free to ask sub-questions. You're free to go tell me to F myself. To be honest, I'd rather you tell me to go F myself than these ads. I promise we're having some problems with, like, bots. I'll try to get to it soon. I'm really overwhelmed with work, but I'll try to do some bot hunting. The problem is there's a couple people like Bobby, whoever you are. Bobby seems to do real posts, but then also does bot posts. I don't even know what to think about that. It hurts my mind. Anyways, question number 7. How can such behavior of Germany affect relations with Russia? Germany can't really have relations with Russia because it is a vassal. Okay? So there's only to an extent, how much, so for example, how much could America really improve relations with Czechoslovakia during the Cold War when it was part of the Warsaw Pact and a communist nation? You know what I mean? Like, well, what can you do? Like, guys, how about we work towards you getting rid of communism? All you people in the Communist Party who dedicated your lives to communism, how about we just get rid of that? Let's move towards that goal. Like, it doesn't work that way. You can find people to sort of usurp those people in power, but it's very difficult to really be able to make any sort of deal with a Germany that's, occupied and completely controlled. So German-Russian relations, there are. For example, what was it? Who was before Merkel? Was it Helmut Kohl? Oh, my God. Who was it? Oh, boy. List of chancellors of Germany. Here we go. List of chancellors of Germany. Okay, no, not the current one. Get out of here, current list. Okay, here we go. Well, we'll start with Bismarck. Okay, let's get to the 21st century here. Yeah, Kohl. Yeah. So one thing, or was it with Schroeder? Oh, I forget which one. Boy, you have to forgive me, guys. It was either Kohl or Schroeder. One of the two really hates English. Okay, he doesn't get any play. He doesn't speak English very well. He absolutely hates it. And Putin speaks German. So that was one thing where they were able to make some deals. We could build this little bit of a friendship. And look at the Nord Stream project. That may have been from the initial steps a little bit outside of Washington. So Germany can kind of sort of do something, but it's not like Germany can say tomorrow, sorry, Washington, we're going to leave NATO and we're going to join the Eurasian Economic Union. As long as Washington still has a lot of control over Germany, really, again, German-Russian relations and any of the relations between especially the most under-heel EU members and Russia, it comes with a huge asterisk. Because the elite there is just, completely Russophobic and controlled. Okay, number 8. Furthermore, the question would be, what really could Russia offer Germany that would make Germany go, no, Washington, no. All the stuff, no. We're backing off the Ukraine. We're going to, we're going to open all the pipelines. No. We made this awesome deal with the Russians here, everything's just freaking awesome. Okay. What could, Russia, offer Germany to make them do that? Nothing, because Germany can't do that. Okay. They're not a real total political actor. So, Joaquin just said good night to everyone. So good night, Joaquin, even though you can't hear this. So number 8, why have Poland and Russian relations always been complicated? But today they have become very aggravated. Poland today actively supports the introduction of the toughest sanctions against the Russian Federation. Well, one of the things it has to do with the Polish ideology. Okay, you guys have heard me talk about this before, so we're going to go real quick. Poland sees itself as the borderlands of Europe. Remember, the name of Ukraine, Ukraina, Krai, is the edge, the borderlands. So Ukraine is essentially if it wouldn't have effed up, it would have considered itself the borderlands of Europe too. Maybe that's what some of its leadership has been trying to do. Since in recent years, we'll put it that way. But Poland really has, because they were, the Mongol horde was sort of kept out of, like the West because of Poland. The Polish hussars kind of went down into Austria to stop the Ottoman Empire. So Poland can say, hey, we stopped the Ottomans, the Muslim invasion of Europe, so we saved it for, we saved Christianity. And then in a lot of ways, they were sort of the vanguard or the most, the least loyal member of the Warsaw Pact, ironically, Warsaw Pact. In a lot of ways, they see themselves as, again, being on this fight against tyranny. And during World War II, they believe that they were fighting both tyrannical or all the tyrannical forces. Because in a lot of ways, Poland had to fight three, because they had to fight the actual Germans. And some of them considered they were sort of kind of working with the Soviet Union to fight against it later. Okay, whatever. And of course, the Banderites, who were sort of semi-independent, but also they sort of had their own missions within the framework of the German advance. So, whatever. About that, we've had a really good interview on this channel with Mr. George Eliasson. You should listen to that interview about the history of Bandera and not my muddling words, because I'm not an expert in that. But anyway, so Polish ideology, I think, is really one of the reasons where Poland right now has, if you're Polish, you've kind of had this opportunity to sort of click, and now it's like, we're doing it again, guys. It's our opportunity to be the defenders of Europe. Look, Russia, for what doesn't matter the reasons, Russia seems all up in arms, and we're going to be here, and we're going to defend Europe, and it's going to be awesome, and we're fulfilling our sort of cultural destiny. So I think in a lot of ways, it really, they're really fulfilling that, much in the same way that I think Russians feel like, again, it's us. We, in Russia, people feel like their history is to sort of rise up against tyranny and excess, be it the Swedes in the 1700s, Napoleon in the 1800s. Then we sort of had the Kaiser's forces, and then we had Hitler's forces. And then we got into the Cold War, and the USSR felt like it was stopping the excesses of this grand capital, all this. And in a lot of ways, Russia always feels like it is forced to rise up and defend itself against aggression almost cyclically. So in some ways, Russia feels like it's fulfilling its destiny too. So I'm not saying that it's not just Poland that sort of clicked on the destiny ideological switch in their heads, okay? So that's why. It's the national mythos sort of thing. And also, the other thing is something much more pragmatic, because many of the cities, especially Lvov, don't say Lviv. Let's not say things the stupid Ukrainian way. It's Kot, not Keet. We should all know that. Kot is cat, not Keet. Okay? And it's not Lviv, it's Lvov. Okay? So we're going to have to get used to, again, saying everything the Russian way, because winners write the history books and maps, baby. Especially Yandex maps. But anyways, so Lvov and a lot of the surrounding areas were very, very Polish until World War II. And people like Bandera and his buddies murdered a lot of people. I mean, literally, like if you look at it again, you'll find it shocking. Go right now into Wikipedia. Well, let's just do it together. Why not? Okay, let's see. Hold on. Wikipedia. City of, we'll call it their stupid Lviv. Okay. Because they'll be happy about that. Okay, let's see. We got the link. Maybe can I actually link just to maybe demographics? Demographics? Yeah. Okay. So, watch, take a look at this demographic map. Holy moly. That is in the chat if you want. I can try to maybe pull it. If it's an SVG. Oh, no, I can't pull it because I'm not in OBS. See, that's the problem. With OBS, I could pull it. But anyways, you'll see this where Poles were like half of the population, majority of the population until World War II, and they dropped to a tiny minority thanks to the blades of Bandera and his other scumbags. Boy, if you want to talk about people throw the word genocide around now a little bit maybe too casually. Look at Lvov. Look at that population graphic map. That's a genocide, my friends. That's a slaughterhouse for Polish people. And I think a lot of people in Poland would like to have that historical city back and the territories around it. And if you haven't noticed, ever since the invention of the atomic bomb, it is very hard to gain territory. You know what I mean? And if Poland doesn't act now, it'll never get the chance. It'll never get the chance. So it's now or never, baby. So I kind of understand why Poland has taken, I'm saying it like, what is that? Poland, isn't that the German way? Das Polen. Poland, it really has, it's now or never. So. Well, what would be needed to unvassal Germany, Andy is asking. essentially really the end of Washington's influence. It would require Washington to become so weak that Germany really and its elite really feel maybe attracted somewhere else or don't feel that there's enough pressure. It's sort of like Viktor Orban. I mean, listen to his victory speech. I think I shared this on his channel. His victory speech was just like a declaration of war against everything globalist. Why? Because he's powerful enough. Because he can do it. And he can survive. And it's all a matter of power. And will. Maybe the German elite just don't want them. Maybe they're happy. Why did chattel slavery exist for so long until it was ended by people, by Abraham Lincoln and the Union Army and a lot of people who got them revved up for it? That's really who ended it. Why? Because, sometimes people can get used to being in this sort of second-class citizen status, unfortunately. That's a dark side of history. Question number 9. What territorial claims to Russia is Poland openly talking about? So actually, this is very good for the reporter. I'm surprised she even mentioned that. As we just talked about Lvov, I remember this interview going much worse. Now that I'm reading the questions, they're much better. She must have asked me some ones that were really annoying while we were there. But like I said, one day, I'm going to ask for Ruben for those interviews. We're going to get into reptilians. We're going to get into somehow Bitcoin. Bitcoin is connected to like the freedom of human. It's going to be amazing. It's just every interview with him is just pure joy. Anyways, number 10. What kind of weapons does Poland have today, and from where, and what goes to them? Poland is not a major weapons producer that I know of, but every former Warsaw Pact country, for the most part, had their own factories to make their own type of AKs. But again, everyone in NATO wants to move away from the Soviet stuff. So what does Poland have? They're going to get rid of, like many countries, like the Czech Republic, like Cyprus, although Cyprus wasn't in the Warsaw Pact. They want to get rid of anything old and Soviet. Okay, they just want to throw that to Ukraine because it's compatible with their systems and with how they train their guys, and basically get rid of the old junk for it to be replaced by NATO standard stuff, which means money for politicians and the military-industrial complex, because everything's going to be replaced. Oh my God, there could be a war. We have to replace every gun in Cyprus. God forbid. So every like $2,000, $3,000 gun in Cyprus will be bought for $10,000, and everyone will be happy except for the taxpayers of Cyprus. So Poland has the old stuff. Poland, from what I understand, is not a major weapons producer. Maybe someone knows otherwise. If you know otherwise about Poland's weapon industry, you let me know in the comments. When we're talking about weapons, we're usually talking about, like the closest big weapons factory that I could think of would be CZ in the Czech Republic. CZ makes a lot of weapons. They're pretty close. Who else? Germany produces a lot of weapons. France, maybe I don't know about a lot, but they do produce their own weapons. England does. You have a few different NATO options. But when you get into Eastern Europe, besides the Czech Republic, not a lot of, or Central Europe, you're not getting a lot of huge weapons factories. Okay, no, number 11. There's only two more questions left after this one, so we have 3 in total. Andy's actually again, do you think it's true that the USA has sent a third of their Stingers, etc., to storage in Ukraine? That's very possible because the United States doesn't really need them. Let me explain why. Because, with the Stinger, what is that? That's to take out tanks, right? Primarily. Again, not military expert. Calm down. If actually they also work against helicopters or something, maybe they do. Maybe we could look that up. But let's just put it this way. What are real threats for America, like the homeland of America, the continental 48? Well, it's nuclear missiles, it's big missiles, that are flying, hypersonic missiles, all that stuff. That's really what is the scary stuff. And, those javelins and stuff aren't going to stop that. That was for really, like the first few days of Baghdad to take out Saddam's tanks or to deal with any sort of, machinery that the Taliban had for a while. There's really nowhere to use that currently. So is it possible? Yeah, because that's not really important. I mean, what if, let's just say, someone said, America has sent a third of its total, like, anti-air defense to Ukraine. I'd find that kind of hard to believe. You know what I mean? That'd be really hard to believe, especially because they'd be really hard to train the Ukrainians during a war, but still, like, that's hard to believe. That's within the realm of possibility that they got rid of a third of them. Because also, too, remember, guys, weapons actually, not so much like guns, like normal rifles and stuff, actually have a very long shelf life. But a lot of these weapons and stuff, they don't last forever. And I believe, like, even in Russia, I think when munitions get to 25 years old, they just blow them up if they make it to 25. I'm pretty sure about that. Again, it could be 20 years, it could be 30 years. But the thing is that they actually have an expiration date. So another thing is, too, is they may be just, also because it's also profitable for certain individuals, being like, okay, these are the oldest ones. Let's get rid of them. Let's order another third. So that's very possible. Because in Russia, a couple of years back, before, was this during Shoigu? Well, it was kind of during when the army was in its resurrection period. Some young guy died because they sloppily were doing that, like the destruction of munitions that were too old. And I guess he wasn't standing behind the thing, or they had too much at one time. They were hurrying, and one of the guys died, which is a horribly stupid way to die. So, yes. Oh, here I skipped question 11, didn't I? I just ran right over it. No. Unfortunately, guys, I thought this would be more funny. I remember her throwing much more emotion-charged questions at me, and there's only like one here, so you have to forgive me. But anyways, these are the questions that go on Russian TV. Okay, that's what I'm doing here. I am answering questions from an interview for a major Russian TV channel. Okay, so this is what Russians are asking. This is what kind of stuff that you're going to get on Russian TV. Okay, about propaganda. So anyways, so again, maybe you guys can sit here and think, those were thoughtful questions. Actually, those questions were stupid. So think about that. Is this a very thoughtful, objective, respectful, intellectual approach, or is this garbage? Let me know. All right. Question number 11. For a long time, residents of the Baltic countries have a negative attitude towards Russians. Why do the Baltics dislike Russians? Why is the Russian-speaking population oppressed in the Baltic states, despite the fact that almost everywhere the language is freely understood and used in the Baltic states? Okay. The same reason this question annoys me. How can any Russian person who works in the media, this is for a regular program, so they talk about these kind of topics, like the war, like geopolitics. How can you not know? And many of you are going to say, Tim, that's a hypothetical question. They just want, no, she really didn't know. She did not know. She was baffled. And for you guys who are foreigners, you could know this. Why? Because it works in Washington's interests. Because after the Soviet Union fell apart, here comes English language in every school. Here comes the Hollywood. Here comes your State Department programs. And why do they dislike Russians? Because Washington is winning the info war. And again, we also have to say, again, this is getting to the emotionalism. Oh, everything's so emotional. They dislike us. All of them dislike all of us. Feelings, emotions. Are any of you out there Americans? Does the U.S. government really represent your interests all the time? Maybe sometimes it does. I think sometimes it does. Even as a guy sitting here, I think sometimes it does. A lot of times it doesn't. And maybe perhaps the super racist policies of not giving Russian citizenship, considering them resident aliens, not allowing them to have Russian language schools, all that stuff, right? Maybe it's actually the country's elite that was doing it, because really the movers and shakers in most countries are very few people, and those few people are submissive to Washington. And Washington wants to make sure that the Russian language dies everywhere outside the borders of whatever Russia is, so that way its influence goes down, and so that way the people there become sort of brought into the Western fold. That's why. How any Russian person could not know this already is baffling, but she really didn't seem to get it, which is a shame. It is a shame. Anyways, and it's a shame that my Russian was not good that day. I was really off my game, so I think my answers are much better now. I had an extremely stressful day, so this is actually how I'm sort of unloading. Yesterday, I had a nightmarish day. So I was just a pure nightmare. Today was just extremely stressful. So we're winding down together. Winding down. Question number 12. Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia called on the EU to accelerate the introduction of new sanctions against Russia, as well as to include the energy sector in them. Why are they doing this? And can these calls influence the EU's decision to abandon gas and oil from Russia? Does the opinion of the Baltic states matter? F no. Does butt kissing work in politics? F yes. That's just virtue signaling, butt kissing. It doesn't matter. Let's just say the opposite. Let's just say, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia went and they said, we demand that Washington remove all sanctions against Russia because they have been a good energy partner. Would Washington do it? No. Whoever said that, first off, there's a good chance that their political lives might be over, and maybe another type of life might be over. That's regime change time, baby. When you start acting uppity like that, okay? All right. Anyways, moving on. Andy's asking again. Andy, a lot of questions from one person. Are you one of the Boosty subscribers? That's the question, because Boosty subscribers get priority. If you're on Boosty and you're sending me even a pittance every month, your questions get priority, but too much from Andy, okay? Andy, you're going to have to take a break, and maybe someone else would like to answer a question. And remember, we're talking about, I'm answering questions from an actual interview that I did for Russian TV. Number 13, Estonian authorities have sent another tranche. Okay. That's a new French word for me, tranche. Of military aid to, let's just do this monitor. Of military aid to Ukraine, which includes howitzers, maybe tranche like a plate. Oh boy, I am embarrassed whenever if I ever see a word and I don't know how to properly pronounce it. I flip out. I have to know it. Okay, let's see. Tranche dictionary. Let's see. Oh, well, hold on. I might have to turn on the volume here. Hold on. Tranche, okay. A portion of something, especially money. Oh, interesting. So it's not a plate. A tranche. Tranche. Okay, so we have that. So the Estonian authorities have sent another tranche of military aid to Ukraine, which includes howitzers, anti-tank missiles, mines, recoilless guns, small arms, grenade launchers, and hand grenades. This is reported by the Estonian embassy in Kiev. Latvia and Lithuania will supply Ukraine with American Stinger anti-aircraft missile systems. Why are they doing this? Again, and this is one of the things that also annoys me on Russian TV, repetitive questions. And when you are talking to someone and they keep asking you the same question over and over again, they're usually not interested in truth. They want to beat that hammer home, okay? So if ever you're doing an interview and you feel like maybe the interviewer is trying to maybe make you look bad, or that person might be sort of on the enemy side of the line, they're always going to beat that hammer. They're going to make you answer the same question over and over and over again until you maybe say something that comes off a little bit off, and that's what's going to go on TV. So that was kind of one of those beat the drum questions, which I don't particularly appreciate there very much at all. So, guys, that's what an interview for Russian TV looks like. I thought you might find that neat, and it's also a rarity for me. They were extremely accommodating because I told them, I was like, look, the only time I have is when my kid is playing soccer. And they asked, where does he play soccer? I described it to them, and they actually rented a studio right next to it. So I really couldn't say no. Because, again, a lot of these interviews are pointless, and no one wants to pay you. Again, pay me. You want me to go somewhere? You want me to spend half a day of my life to go somewhere? This is another thing where you've heard me probably complain about before is all Russian organizations don't understand. We want to have expert opinions on our program. Okay. These experts are going to have to spend half a day giving you their time, maybe going somewhere to some studio. Are you going to compensate them? No. Well, what kind of experts are you going to get? Apparently, they're going to get me while my kid is playing soccer out of a sense of guilt. Oh, that's who you get. Okay. So, anyways, that is very good. Now, guys, one thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to throw in the actual Tim Kirby Hardcore. I want to open up and see about the videos for RTTT because, like I said, we're going to have a new video coming up like super soon. Extremely soon, and that is going to be another must-eat video. So I kind of want to share one of our older must-eat videos to kind of get you pumped for it. Oh, okay. So here we have the two Dagestan videos. So, anyways, let me load those up, and I'm just going to throw those right into the main chat here. So you'll get them in the main chat. Boom. 1. Boom. 2. And I know, guys, one thing is a lot of people have wanted. Oh, no, that did, the preview. Okay. Whew, I thought the preview wasn't going to go. But anyways, one thing you guys, a lot of people have been, I'm actually really surprised, guys. This is awesome. We've got 1,500 people. I think last time we talked to was 1,300. This is pretty crazy. And a lot of my colleagues there who I make these travel videos with, called RTTT. Some of you only know me from politics. I also make a travel series. Okay, I just threw those links right in the main channel. No problem. Very easy to click on. You can watch later. My colleagues are really impressed that although we just started on Rumble, a lot of you guys have actually subscribed to Rumble. So I wanted to say thank you for that. Thank you for everyone who's tried to fight the way, because I know sometimes Boosty is weird. Sometimes it works in Western countries, and sometimes it doesn't. So Boosty is a mystery. But for those of you who actually fought through the Boosty barrier, thank you. And again, why donate to me? Why? Why the F would you donate to some weirdo who lives in Russia and produces weird ideological material? Why would you do that? Well, first off, I want to look at who are the people on Boosty, but why can't I look? Who are my subscribers? Some things are very frustrating. There they are. Okay, who is it? No, not that. My Astronauts, my man. Oh, where is it? There's supposed to be something that lets you look so you could save the names of all the people. Why? Why does it make it easy for me to find who I'm subscribed to on Boosty, but not who's subscribed to me? Oh boy, what a mess this is. Okay, Boosty is letting me down. I can't even get back to my account. Oh man, I can't click where it says. I'm really, really sorry, friends. I really wanted to see and, say who's on Boosty, but it's not letting me. What a crock. Oh, man, I'm angry now. I'm extremely, extremely angry that this isn't obvious. This should be so obvious because it's so important. Oh, it's under my expenses because the system only cares about money. So anyway, guys, sorry for that. Anyways, I'd like to thank Jimmy Abisaleh, Les, Yuri B, Rachel, Fungus, Mark Stoneweapon, Mark, who gives the best, most detailed answers that are always relevant to posts I've ever seen. Mark, you are a man of energy, dude. I don't know how you do it. Mark gives very detailed answers. And EJ. So thank you all for subscribing. And what is the point? Why should any of you subscribe to Boosty? I'm going to try to, if the system will let me, I'll share the Boosty. We're going to share the Boosty. Oh, my God. And you guys, if some of you want to subscribe, what's the point? So that way I can finally have a studio and not have to deal with this. Again, this project to expand my house, sort of usually kind of as a advertising deal. It's like everything in my life keeps getting put off till eternity. That is the bane of my existence. Everything I want to do gets put off and put off and put off and put off. But welcome to Russia. Okay, so hopefully one day we'll have a studio instead of this awful wall. And this thing actually slides, but it doesn't slide far enough to go out of camera. It's just depressing. It's depressing for being a 40-year-old man with a veteran political career and media career to be filming in this environment. So your money from Boosty is going to go to making sure that we're going to have the rockin' studio with a beautiful like neon sign, maybe even, I'm thinking, guys, metallic walls. Yes, I might just hang up some metal sheets on one wall. It's going to be like galvanized steel. It'll be amazing. So anyways, someone, it looks like I'm going to take a risk here, and it looks like Jennifer has a question. Jennifer, do you want to speak? Jennifer, are you going to speak? Hello? Jennifer, are you going to speak? Or did you just raise your hand just because it's a random weird thing and the button looked nice? Jennifer? Hello?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Tim?
I can't hear you.
Tim?
Oh, I think you're muted. No, you're muted yourself. Hello?
Tim?
Jennifer,
Tim?
what's wrong? Hold on. Is it me? Jennifer, is it me? Try talking.
Tim?
Oh my gosh, you're here. Okay. Yes, Jennifer, did you have a question? We're getting into the Q&A period of this event.
I really, really wanted to join your live stream. Listen, last night on Lieutenant Steve Murray's Telegram,
Yeah.
we had a long chat, live chat, and I had noticed the article by Pepe Escobar on the new the new Eurasian economic, Glasgow economic order. And it just sent off a firestorm in the chat. And what came out on that was, there's 81 million Americans who voted for Trump. That's half the size of Russia. Why can't we join in the multipolar new economic world order?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Jennifer. That here. Sorry to cut you off, but you just hit on a very good, solid question. So here we're gonna de-mic you there, and we're gonna get into answer your question. Why not? Well, Jennifer, unfortunately, we are locked in the battle between these two worlds, and in very much, especially throughout the Cold War. Now, here's where we get into the conspiracy theory realm. Some people here are going to say it's all like, Rothschild's bankers. It's all this club of the Great Reset. It's all this or that. Don't worry about that stuff. That's actually not that relevant. Overall, throughout the Cold War, unfortunately, America sort of was, its purity was polluted by the necessities of the Cold War, which may not have been necessities. It's up for debate, but it kind of seemed like it at the time, which really definitely militarized America. And when America won the Cold War, it sort of got into this sort of arrogant state of this, it's the end of history. We control everything. The world is ours. And when certain people in the elite created this vision for the world that you've seen, again, read a guy I've talked to many times, who I have to admit, boy, he's a more well-read, has more gravitas as an analyst than I do. Matt Ehret, E-H-R-E-T. So the H is silent. Yeah, he is.
I found him on Rogue Money, and that's how I found you.
Yeah, he is fantastic. And the thing is with him, Jennifer, is he really gets into sort of the mentality of this psychology of this idea of what this sort of globalist person is, okay, and where it came from, and how the thing is, it's like some people see everything as being a planned conspiracy. I think it goes back to sort of when we had the rise of Darwinism and the death of religion as being the idea of what created us. Well, Europe and a lot of places, especially in England, the Anglo-Saxons, really took that down a dark path. They didn't see, it's like, the species that's best suited to its environment survives. No, only the strong survive. And then comes eugenics, and then comes this, that, and the other. And then comes this idea that the world's resources are limited, which is an idea that actually doesn't really exist in Russia. Russia feels very good about the future of the world, especially if the population just kind of maybe slowly over time stays the same or maybe shrinks a little bit. We can live with billions of people, it'll be fine. But that's Russia. The mentality in the West is it is an unquestioned fact that we are on a pathway to death unless we make the human species go down to supposedly 500 million people or something. So you're getting into this cult of eugenics that hates people, it hates religion, and because it's liberal, it hates all of its Christian traditions, because liberals hate Christianity because Christianity tells them no all the time, okay? So you're getting this big mental stew that creates this globalist type of person. And the problem is this globalist type of person was able to sort of hop on America's back, enjoy its geopolitical advantage of being really in an ocean far away, with a pathetic neighbor that's a clone of it to the north, and this little sort of foot to the south that isn't really a good way to invade it, and two oceans to the sides. And, had very diverse geography and a lot of resources and all that, and being big, okay? So, again, going back to that, was your overall question was about, yes, that's the nature of the monopolar world, is this sort of congealing of a lot of factors, and the people in Washington, they aren't just going to, it's really hard to change someone's mentality. I can't just go up to you and be like, you know what? Islam is kind of rocking. Why don't you just join Islam today? You're not going to just radically change your worldview and everything you've been brought up just because someone throws some sort of weird offer in your face. A lot of people, especially in elite, like the Bill Gates types, especially the Schwab types, the sort of globalists, the Davos, or however you want to say it, World Economic Forum types, they're happy with that. They like this. They like this future. They like their Epstein Island. They like that way of looking at the world and hating people and seeing people as rats and a disease or useless mouths, right? Wasn't that it about the Great Reset? So many useless mouths. And when you look at the world from that perspective, it's going to be very hard to change that perspective. And a lot of the people in that elite are not going to give up on it, because one of the things is again, it goes back to this sort of, we talked about, Sergei Kurganyan said there are no such thing as good Jews and bad Jews when you're a Nazi. And the thing is when you're a sort of global elite, you can't be like the nice guy global elite, because then a new global elite's going to come in. So there's really no reconcilable way to sort of solve this. Unfortunately, this critical issue of the monopolar versus multipolar world just has to play itself out to the natural end, whatever that's going to be. But biolabs being exposed to work against China and Russia, the inevitable end could be really, really horrific for all of us. Oh boy. We are living in fun, terrifying times. All right. So thank you very much, Jennifer. Jennifer wants to continue. She seems to have her arm up again. Does anyone else have a question? I see a lot of, wow, dude. Whoa, there's a lot of people here. Holy crud. Okay. It doesn't say anywhere how many people, does it? Telegram. Come on, guys, let's get with the program. Why can't I see how many people are here? But anyways, I guess, Jennifer, if you really want to continue on, maybe another question. Does anyone else have a question? I'm going to get going in, say, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You guys got 15 minutes. If anyone has a question, Jennifer, you are back on air, okay. I think. Yes. Yeah.
What you're missing in this whole thing, what we all realized last night in the chat with Lieutenant Steve Murray, is that the 81 million people who turned out for Trump have the same goals as Putin and Glazyev, you know?
Yeah.
They want team honest and fair. They want prosperity for everyone. They want a sound money system, and they want to drain the swamp. So
absolutely.
We're fighting the same enemies. It's just that we have no platform to focus that Trump momentum, if you will. Yeah. And, you know, a question for Russian press or what Russian journalism would be, how can Russia help the 81 million Americans who voted for Trump join with you? Join in this multipolar new why not? Well, why should we go down with a stupid globalist ship? None of us wants to do that. You know, Putin threw down the glove, right? Yeah. He took the leadership, he took the decisive action, and we can join. We can join with you guys. And we should join with. We should be moving forward, not getting bogged down in all of this crap.
Okay, now one thing, Jennifer, I like the way you phrased that. My mom would have phrased it the same way. She would have been getting bogged down in all this crap. I like the way you say that. But listen. So here's the thing. I understand what I understand what you're saying and how it's frustrated. But I can tell you from within Russia, the battle for Russia isn't entirely over. Okay, Russia has to fight, is still fighting. In the 300 years of Peter the First, remember, he's not Peter the Great here, very rarely referred to as that, of Peter the First and his thing telling Russians that they are inferior. Okay, and I know that sounds nuts, but, you know, even still, like even Putin's press secretary, Peskov, got in trouble recently. Some people think it's some sort of like weird manipulative, like double move, but he's kind of a liberal guy too. And there's this, like, basically he came out and kind of started to praise some of the actual liberals who just fled the country that, well, actually deep down they're patriots. It's not even settled here. Russia has to, first off, should Russia do anything for anyone else in a multipolar world. Because one of the problems with the monopolar world is America went around and it wanted to spread democracy everywhere. Let's turn the clock back, Jennifer, okay? Let's turn it back to the Cold War. Now, really, in Russia, things were one thing. But I've met a lot of people who are in the sort of, Eastern Bloc countries and, Poland, especially, okay? And, I think a lot of people there really wanted America to come in and mess with their politics and all that stuff. They were really, really frustrated by it. But did that give America the right? All right. So if we're going to build this multipolar world, it has to be based on a concept of mutual respect. It's going to be based on a concept of dividing the world more or less into sort of these cultural, civilizational spheres of influence and not really going over the line. One could argue that, well, in order to create the multipolar world, we should do whatever we need to do to break the monopolar world. And then what happens? We become Trotskyites. We become the same people like the Project for New American Century that wrote, we need to crush all competition. This isn't a quote, but paraphrase. We need to crush any possible potential rising competition as their mission. Right? Which has led to all the war in Iraq and Afghanistan and America spreading all over the globe to create this, American, Project for New American Century, blah, 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 and the monopolar world and all that, and during the Cold War, it was the justification for all this. Well, if we don't bomb the hell out of Vietnam, the Soviets will take it, and they took it anyways. Hold on. But we cannot.
Anti-war. I'm a boomer. I'm 68. I remember. And we didn't go along with that. We didn't go along with the Cold War policies. We
didn't go along with the Cold War policies. In what way? Vietnam came to its natural end because they just lost it. Vietnam went for a long time. The expansion of NATO, the birth and growth of the military-industrial complex. What exact battles did you win against U.S. foreign policy during the Cold War, you being the masses? What did you win specifically?
Tim, it was a major platform in Trump's campaign.
Jennifer. I don't know. We can talk Trump versus Trump. Yeah, I agree with you that Trump stands for a multipolar world. That's one of the things that was so exciting about him. Because remember, a multipolar America can be the strongest country on earth. It can be the richest country on earth. It can have lots of nuclear missiles, but it has to acknowledge that it cannot dominate the entire planet. The shape of America in a multipolar world could be something more Anglo-Saxon, where America and Canada and England and Australia are sort of one entity, or it could look something like the entire North American continent needs to learn English, and that's the cultural sphere of America. No one touches anything there, right? That's what it could look like. But again, we kind of jumped away to Trump from the point I was making, is that people during the Cold War, again, about this feeling like people made change, did what the sort of hippie protests and all that, did it really change anything? Because it certainly didn't stop the Cold War. Vietnam again came to sort of its own natural end. I think a lot of that was sort of pointing and sputtering, and it was the feeling like I made change rather than the actual changes being made. Because if you look at the way intelligence, the military, everything works from your 1945 to your 1995. I would say you guys completely and totally lost that one. Jennifer, I might let you get back on, okay? So you guys lost that one. But again, what people have to understand about a multipolar America is it can be really, really freaking rich and really, really freaking powerful. The problem is that no one can dominate the world. It's a sort of world domination, total economic domination. And not only that, this world and total economic domination with zero respect. And in fact, hatred of humanity being a critical part of this, and the desire to, get rid of the useless eaters, okay, or fund as many abortions as possible. All right, so sorry I kind of shut you down, Jennifer. I don't mean to be a jerk there. That's not what I'm trying to say, but I think very often we kind of we have to take a kind of cold, fresh look at things. But you're absolutely right that Trump essentially is offering a multipolar in America. Because remember, what happens if America brings home its industry? America starts working for America, not for NATO, because Trump was very skeptical of NATO unless it was able to sort of pay for itself, okay? Well, what if all that happens? Well, essentially, you get the multipolar world. You get an America that's very, like, that's sort of in the Monero doctrine sort of way of looking at the world, that's very concerned about its near abroad, and its development and all that. And to be honest, the Trump America would make everyone happy. It would make Americans happy. It would make the Russians happy. Although Trump was very hostile to the Chinese, to be honest, I think the Chinese would be also much happier. They'd be much happier with an America that isn't going to try to spread viruses in their country. So I think the Chinese would be happier too, and probably a lot of the rest of the world, you know? So anyways, anyone else got any questions? I guess you guys don't want to talk. You just want to listen to me ramble here. We took a few from Jennifer. Thank you very much, Jennifer. That was very thoughtful, and especially about what you said about Trump and about that show you were listening to. But everyone is on board. And especially one thing, Jennifer, another thing we have to remember is, because you're talking about the article from Glaziev, is that really a lot of the ideas that are coming from Russia, that's especially why they're banned. That's especially why I already know someone who's sitting 20 years in the clink for kind of doing what I'm doing. Well, he did it from America. Well, he did it from here for a while and went back to America. Big mistake. So these ideas are not inherently dangerous. They're not dangerous because of themselves, but they are dangerous for a certain group of people, because as soon as the world starts to kind of go de-dollarization, goes maybe optional gold standard, you know, maybe a little bit crypto, maybe a little bit that, but we start to get an economy that starts to work for national interests, not questionable interests of questionable bankers. Oh boy, things are going to be very, very different here, friends. But anyways, I'm kind of running out of steam here, guys. So again, in the chat, if I can open it, maybe I can find it. That's one thing I'm very bad at, is talking and finding stuff. So, we have a question. Oh my God, we have questions that are written. So here, let's do this. We're going to read the questions that are written. If I don't see someone raise their hand to ask a verbal question, we're going to call it a day, okay? So, Andrew Breeze, or Breze, we talked about how to pronounce your name, and I forgot. Breezy. Spot on, Tim. What battles did boomers win? Not a single one. They were allowed to get their way when it didn't matter, but they didn't make anything better. Well, yeah, that's something we could talk about, because you also have to remember, if the goal is globalism, in a lot of ways, like, and depopulation and globalism, well, the sexual revolution has been fantastic for depopulation. So if we are to be ideologically consistent and believe that globalism and globalists believe in a kind of sort of form of eugenics, well, this, again, the sexual revolution, super effective. And who supported it? I wouldn't say all the boomers, but enough boomers to make the people watching TV at home believe that they did. Okay. So anyways, Kortik, that's very cute. I mean, the name. So even if you live in a swing state, your vote doesn't really change anything. The ruling class does what it wants. Well, yeah, I mean, look at the last election, guys. The last election made people question things. So, yeah. So, unfortunately, that's another thing where going forward, I think the concept of a lot of things like elections and having like 400 people in a big room make laws when none of them are experts on anything, we have to address this. This has to be reconsidered without violating the Bill of Rights. Calm down. No, Bill of Rights stays as is. It is fantastic. That stays. Okay. J.D. Shahan. I think that America lost its comfortable lifestyles while the military-industrial complex was born and ravaged the rest of the world. Then the Middle East tied its hands with the military through the rules of engagement to dissipate the U.S. military. Maybe, man. That's a big topic. But as you've heard me say on this channel before, I hope, I've given it in speeches, the ultimate means of human repression is comfort. Challenge me on that. Find a means of repressing people more so than comfort that's more effective, and that also just sort of kind of works on its own. Try to find that. It's the ultimate form of repression. It is the invisible chains that bind us. Anyway, it certainly worked for the Cold War. So Aunt Sa. but spelled like ant, like the animal. So anyways, what's the long-term plan for Ukraine as a nation, integration or annexation or regime change? That really depends on this special operation. I mean, well, what if tomorrow, Zelensky died for some reason? Well, then there would be this huge vie for power. There could be complete chaos. Ukraine could be divided into, like, every region of Ukraine could become its own, like, independent country because of that, because there's no real clear line of succession. And so I think a lot of the Nazis would just try to start eating each other alive to become the next leader to get the nice house in Miami. You know what I mean? As our friends at the Duran, well, as friends who we barely know at the Duran put it, the house in Miami is really what's key for Zelensky at this point. But so anyways, I'm getting off topic about Ukraine. We don't know. I think the simplest solution would be to take the western part that is inherently not part of Russian civilization, that inherently despises Russian civilization, and give it to Poland, Hungary, and Romania. Let's deal with it. I would actually say that the safest bet for Russia would be to remember, have any of you guys pro wrestling fans? Matt Hardy, delete. Oh, hold on. We got to get, although it does look kind of fascistic, when he does it, we can at least appreciate a good delete chant. So let's get a delete chant going here. Hold on. Delete. Can we get one? Let's see. Wait. Yes. Delete. Okay, we got a delete chant going. Russia really needs to essentially delete this false entity. Because remember, one of the arguments that Russia makes is that Ukraine is a false entity. It is essentially made up. It is like telling the southern states in America, well, which they kind of did, you're a completely separate culture. Oh my God, you're a completely different country. No. And to go along with this, they should really just actually delete, as Mr. Hardy likes to put it, Ukraine as a concept. The middle sort of part of Ukraine and the Donbass and to the south all goes to Russia, and the remaining parts need to be divided up. So that way, this is what would actually kill the Bandera thing, right? The Bandera mentality, the Banderite mentality would be to have essentially no more homeland for this. There is no governmental structure because the Poles won't support it because he murdered a heck of a lot of Poles, right? The Hungarians won't support it because I don't think that's, or at least not for now. But again, I believe he also murdered Hungarians. So he did a very good job of murdering everyone that was kind of on his side except the Germans. Which is interesting. And I don't know, maybe the Romanians one day might want to, but really it's not part of their history. It's not part of their cultural core. This sort of Ukrainian forces fighting with the German Nazis against the Soviet Union. It's not part of their ethnic, like, legend. You know what I mean? Like, we talked just today with you guys about Poland's like, sort of identity as the protector of Europe. That has no connection to it. I should have a better idea because I know so many people in Hungary about Hungary's sort of national identity. I'm not quite sure what their mythos is, but I sure as hell know it doesn't have anything to do with Stepan Bandera, and the same thing with the Romanians, okay? So that deletion, as Matt Hardy put it, is really what would get rid of this mentality that created the nightmare in Ukraine, that's creating this ISIS-like treatment of people that we haven't seen in Europe since the 1940s. Okay, so that solution is kind of brutal, but it's the solution that would work. Well, it's brutal ideologically. It's actually very not brutal in a physical way, if that makes sense, because you just cannot give these people the platform anymore. Okay? Oh, another question. Here we go. Once Odessa is liberated, Transnistria is 100 kilometers away to reunite with Russian people as one Novorossiya, from Taganrog to Izmail. Izmail is like the westernmost city there. But yeah, because Moldova, this is one thing I wanted to make a video about, but I filmed it and the video, something screwed up with the camera. But we'll get into this. I'll try to make a video about how really, if there is going to be another front in this war, it might be Moldova, because Moldova is a little bit similar to Ukraine. But again, Moldova does not have, like Western Ukraine had the Bandera. They had this legacy to build an ideology off. You know what I mean? They had the foundation to build the house on. Well, Moldova kind of has some of the factors that Ukraine has, but doesn't have that foundation. So hopefully it won't happen there. But yeah, Transnistria could very well, that any day there could be an invasion of Transnistria by NATO, and things could just get even worse. So Russia really, at some point, has to push Transnistria, and also because Odessa is very loyal to Russia, it is very critical. So yeah. Let's see. The elites of the United Kingdom are the entire system. So there's corruption by well, not the entire system. Let's not get into this stuff. The mayor of some sort of like weird place with some weird name like Sedgwick Butt, you know, is not part of the globalist elite. Okay, it's not the entire system, but key players in countries like England, the United States certainly push a certain agenda. They continuously push that agenda. Politicians change, the agenda remains the same, and we can see that happening. Okay, so we don't want to speak in extremes. What's the solution for this place? In the U.S., at least there's some bit of momentum from the Trump base. Yeah, one thing I can say is, although I'll never get the chance to go there again in my life, which makes me sad, I was able to spend a few days in England, and I can say, honestly, talking to people, it is the most, in the English countryside, okay, not London. London is it's butthole city. It is butthole city. It is horrible. But I'm talking about the English countryside. It is the most beautiful place on earth, and it is a tragedy how much the locals hate it. If you are an American and you think that we're filled with a sense of self-hatred due to the legacy of, say, slavery, Trail of Tears with the Native Americans and all that stuff, the British self-hate, we've got nothing on British self-hatred. It's a real shame. I mean, you look at these beautiful houses, this gorgeous landscape, this serene, pristine, charming, and everything is charming. And yet everyone is miserable, and everyone hates that environment. I don't know. It's like I don't know. I'm trying to think of something. It's sort of like putting a person who, I don't know, is some sort of weird minimalist in a room full of gold. Everything's made of gold. It's all so materialistic. It's also needlessly expensive. It's also disgusting. It's very sad. It's very sad. In fact, I can honestly say the saddest place I've ever been to is England for that very reason. Like, as a Midwesterner, well, come on. If you've been to the Midwest, it is ugly as sin. Like, there's things to hate, but to be honest, we like our ugly as sin Midwest, whereas you guys have this, like, elegant, like, you know, like, think about, maybe the Guy Ritchie movies. Oh, maybe that's not a good example because everyone's a criminal, but think about the elegance of, like, you know, British gentleman on the hunt with his dogs and his friend, and they've got the guns and the tweed jackets. That like environment exists, and you guys hate it. It's unbelievable. The rural Midwest is like a 1980s time capsule, and God bless us for it, my friend, and God bless us for it. We're keeping, as someone who grew up with a rotary telephone, we're keeping it alive, baby. We're happy. We were happy in the 1970s and 80s, and we're not leaving. Hell no. My parents had dial-up internet until 2015. We're staying. We're staying. My mom still, although it's not a rotary telephone anymore, we still have a landline telephone there. We're going to keep it. Anyways, guys, so I think we're starting to talk in a little bit in circles. And Kortik just wanted to mention that Russian peacekeeping troops have been in Transnistria since 1994. Yes, in a lot of ways, like the situation in Ossetia and Abkhazia with Georgia, very similar to Georgia. Yes, Kortik, we know. Very good for you pointing that out. Maybe some of our foreign viewers didn't know that. Good for you. You should all read it. It's kind of a long message. But anyways, guys, I'm going to bail. I hope you enjoyed this. The one last thing is, what do you want from live streams? I think these live streams add more value to this channel. They allow you to ask questions. Anyways, what do you want from these live streams? Let me know. Check out the videos about eating and drinking in Dagestan. And this week, we're going to have a new video about must eat in a particular location in Russia that's a secret for now. But guys, go over to click on the Dagestan video, even if you don't want to watch it, and subscribe to Rumble. Get a Rumble account. If you are really like these people, if you are the resistance, you got to have Rumble. You got to have BitChute, banned video, all this stuff. You got to get on that. Okay. So get a Rumble account and subscribe to RTTT. Who's a very surprisingly non-political content from me that'll show you all about Russia and about eating in Russia, especially. Anyways, guys, I'm out. See ya. End. Done.